Hey everyone, today I'm here out at a little range event up in Brownsville, Oregon. Those of you guys have seen the steel targets I shoot. They're all from Thor Targets, and Thor Targets is hosting a little event here. And as luck would have it, we have Nick here from Leupold. This is actually not the first video we've done together.
No, we've done a couple, yeah.
We've done a couple. However, this is probably the first one you guys are seeing, because when I tried to come up to the custom shop and do a video, audio didn't work out. Didn't realize it until I was pretty much back in Eugene. So we're going to have to redo that. But
yeah, we'll have you back, and we'll make sure,
everything's working. We'll make it happen. I got some nicer mics that I have access to now, so we'll make it work. But what I wanted to do was, you guys saw during SHOT Show, I did a video talking about rangefinders, because I've had this 1200i for probably 7 or 8 months now, and I've just been in love with this thing.
Yeah.
It's the first time I've had a new-ish rangefinder. All the ones that I've ever had have always been several years old by the time I get them.
Right.
And so I've been anxiously awaiting to do the video on this, but I found out today that these are now discontinued. So there wouldn't be a whole lot of point in me doing a review of it. So I have Nick here to talk about one of their new models, and just to kind of talk about Leupold in general. And I guess let's start by saying, how do you pronounce the name of the company?
So it's Leupold. Like if you would say, L-E-W-P-O-L-D, Leupold.
Okay, perfect.
But, you say it anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it happens. You can't stop everybody.
Yeah, right.
I mean, people can't say Oregon, so,
Right, Oregon.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, what do you do at Leupold? And then let's get into the product you got in your hands.
So I'm a consumer content specialist. When I tell people that, they usually get a blank stare in their face. Basically, I work in the marketing department. I write copy for manuals. I write copy for the website. I write copy for ads. I do photos, videos, anything consumer content facing will run through me. And so it's a dream job, really. I'm super lucky. So.
Yeah. And you used to work in the custom shop.
I used to work in the custom shop. I mean, I started at Leupold just as a entry-level clerk in the repair department. Started working in the custom shop, went to sales, back to the custom shop, running the custom shop as a supervisor, grew that, and now in the marketing department. So I've kind of bounced around a couple different areas there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, and one thing I want to say really quick too is really my first exposure, my first time meeting Nick, and really meeting any of the guys from Leupold was at a Sport and Training Concepts class, and there's pretty much an entire team of Leupold guys taking that class, and it was really good for me to see that you guys don't just make the products and sell the products.
Yeah.
You guys are actually getting out there and getting reps in and getting training and using the products. And that was a really good thing to see, because you guys watching may not realize how many people there are in the industry who don't actually use the products they're selling and know nothing about it. Yeah. So seeing these guys out there using it was a really cool thing for me. So
yeah, it was a team building exercise, and that was when I was supervising custom shop, and the guys were like, well, what do you want to do? Do you just want to go out in the woods or shoot or something? I was like, well, we have kind of a little more structured training, and why not do sim rounds, right? Where we could actually shoot each other, which, blow out some steam, be like, hey, you're pissing me off.
Right.
So I actually still have a scar on my thumb from one of my guys shooting me. I think he took a pot shot at me. So
yeah, I accidentally shot a couple of, well, not accidentally. I shot your guys plenty, and then accidentally one of the guys was on my team, and anyway.
Yeah, but we have 700 people that work there at the factory, and obviously not all of them are going to be hunters or shooters, but I can tell you anyone who works in the sales, marketing department, even the engineers are hunters and shooters, especially engineers, because to really understand what you're designing and what you're making, you have to be out there utilizing it and seeing what the issues are in the field, what people are experiencing. Hearing it secondhand doesn't always, translate, right? So yeah.
So what do you got in your hands?
So we totally redid the rangefinder line, like Ryan was saying. So he has 1200 there. This is the exact same body. You can see comparison-wise, exact same thing. Though internally, it's very different. So we have the 1600i here. Obviously, that means it goes out to 1600 yards, 1200 yards, so you get a little more yardage. But we've tweaked the internals too, how the laser reads, how fast it reads, the number of pulses, stuff like that. So when we're coming out with new models, we're not just kicking up the power a little bit. We're actually tweaking some other stuff in there. Same great display, the OLED display, OLED. So super bright, bright red display. So yeah, this is a great one. Definitely, you can see orange, a couple different, throw my ears away there. A couple different camo options too, and black.
Sure.
Going through the line, like I said, we redid the whole line. We got a 1300i now. And now coming out in May, we'll have a 2800. So that is going to be awesome. I've got to play around with it a little bit. It's not that much bigger than this, so handheld 2800. And I'm really excited for that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Because here in Oregon, honestly, up until yesterday, the furthest I'd shot this thing out was a couple hundred yards, because that's really the ranges we have here on the western side of the state. Yesterday I was up in some clear-cut areas up in the mountains, and actually this thing's at 1200. I was actually getting inconsistent readings at 1240. So if you, depending on what you're pointing it at, it could do a little bit more.
It could do a little bit more.
Right.
Yeah, we try. You want to be realistic about the yardages, right? Honestly, the 2800, I've gotten readings out to 3000.
Right.
But it depends on what you're lasing, right?
Right.
A reflective target is obviously going to give you a better reading back than, say, trees or a hide of an animal.
Right.
Aren't very good at sending the signal back to the reader there. So,
Right.
yeah.
But I mean, all that to say, these things can already range out further than I can shoot.
Yeah.
But I know there's a lot of people, competition shooters, or even people in the flatter parts of our country where you have that range and you need that range and figure out how far you're shooting.
Or another thing, honestly, so though they're like a hunter maybe is like a 2800. Why do I need that? Well, it's not because you're going to be shooting 2800 yards, but if you see maybe a ridge that you want to get to and you lay and you go, okay, well it's that distance, or you see some movement somewhere, and now you know the distance and you know how much distance you need to close and able to get to a shooting position or a range that you feel comfortable shooting in.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And one of the things I got to say that impressed me the most about these, well, and first of all, I should also say, I did a test in the rain, because these were supposed to be weather resistant. I wanted to actually test that myself. Being in Oregon, it rains here.
Yeah.
And I know for a lot of hunters, you're not always out in the nicest conditions to go hunting. Sometimes you leave this on the hood of your truck and then you come back 8 hours later and it's still there. So I wanted to see how it did in the rain, and I'll roll in some footage that I took. And I let this thing sit in the rain for probably close to an hour. No issues when I picked it right back up. So that was already reassuring. But then a lot of the features that these things have built into it blew my mind, because again, all the other ones I'd had were several years old.
Right.
I mean, things like programming into it what load you're shooting, and it giving you the holdover in mils, MOA, or inches, telling you the angle, inclination of the target, and then incorporating that into the ballistic calculator.
Right.
Just the sheer number of features that this one had, which is now discontinued.
Yeah.
And as you said, you're not just making it more magnified, you're giving it added features as well.
Correct. Yeah. Doing stuff to the laser. The ballistic thing is an important thing to touch on that you mentioned there. The engineer or the product line manager over these is always harping on me. He's like, always talk about it, because the equations that we use to calculate the ballistic, you choose your ballistic group and that matches the trajectory, right, of what you're shooting. Yeah, it comes with a card there, a little cheat sheet card, right? But the math that we're using inside, maybe some of you guys have heard of Rifleman's Rule. Most rangefinders use Rifleman's Rule, which is it's very approximate. It's not very accurate, and we're actually using trigonometry and stuff like that to come up with those trajectories. So we're not using Rifleman's Rule. We're using something a little more advanced, which is going to give you a more accurate holdover and distance. So,
yeah. And again, that was one of the things that really blew my mind. And again, I haven't shot out to 1,000 yards with this to see how good it holds up, because again, the loads, at least on this older model, you kind of have to find what's the closest, and there's absolutely no substitute for training. So before you just go and trust anything, get out there, see what your specific rifle does with your velocity and your load. Get that training to know for sure. But I'm telling you, this thing is a really good quick reference guide.
Yeah, absolutely.
And again, you can program it in, and then if you are going between your AR to your 308, this is going to have let's see, it has all the different load groups in there, so just figure out what you need to program it for, you program it in, and it does a lot of work for you.
Yeah, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but and then down the road you will see different technologies incorporated in these where they might be connecting to your phone and ballistic apps and stuff like that. So a little teaser out there for you. Yeah.
So these guys are doing some really awesome work, and obviously they're in Oregon, so they got a soft spot in my heart to begin with. But Nick, anything else you want to say about the rangefinders or Leupold or anything like that?
I think you hit on a really good point that we are also out here using the products. We're just not making the products, and the people in the office live the lifestyle, right? And really love what we do, which doesn't make it feel like a job at all, right?
Right.
You know, I'm technically down here working at the range, you know, on a Saturday. It's just hanging out with buddies and having fun. So, yeah, we're super lucky, and it's great to work for a company that cares. It's still family-owned, 5th generation. You know, I've been there 10 plus years. There's a handful of people who've been there 20, 30, even 40 plus years. We have, I think, the 46 years is the longest someone's been there. So
that's usually a good sign.
That's when I started there. I was like, man, this is a good sign. There's people who've been here a long time. So it's a great company. Again, we're making stuff there 7 days a week. It's just it's cool. Yeah, it's a good deal.
Well, and again, not only is it still family owned, 5th generation, people staying there a long time, you guys have a track record to back up all your stuff too. I mean, Leupold, your products have been around since World War II?
So the company's been around since 1907.
Okay.
We started making scopes in 45 was when we introduced the first rifle scope. We made surveying equipment before then, which early surveying equipment like a Transit, if you guys are familiar with that, Google it. You'll see it looks a lot like a scope. It has a crosshair and it has adjustments. So going to a precision rifle scope wasn't that far of a stretch. We had already made stuff like that. But it was one of those where Marcus Leupold, the son of the founder, was out hunting. His scope fogged up, and it was like, I can do this better than these guys can do it.
Right.
So go back, you know, work days and nights, weekends, and make it come true. Yeah. So it's kind of a cool story, you know, how. But yeah, we have tons of years of experience. I think we were talking a little bit earlier about the lifetime warranty. We guarantee performance. We have a lifetime warranty because we know that you're probably not going to have to use it. And a lifetime warranty really doesn't mean much. Like today, if out on the range and something happens, well, now I can't use my gear, right?
Right.
And that's a low impact scenario.
Right.
If you were in the backcountry and you're on a hunt of a lifetime that you paid 20 grand for or whatever, and your gear goes down, well then, you know, that warranty doesn't do you much good.
Right.
So we really go to crazy degrees to make sure this stuff works. You know, and stuff like this. You know, we say 700 people were working in a factory making stuff. This is imported, right? This does come from overseas. We design it, we engineer it, but we have someone make it for us. I think one of the big differences is we actually bring these back to the factory. We just don't drop ship these from the manufacturer to the store. They come here, we do Q&A testing, a lot of different evaluations until we're certain that lot's good, and then we ship it ourselves out to the store. So if it says Leupold on it, we've looked at it and we've QA'd it and so I think that's a big difference, right?
Absolutely.
Because we do import stuff, but if it sits on a gun, it comes out of that factory. That's the rule.
Yeah, and like we mentioned earlier, I'm definitely going to be going back up there to do another video at the custom shop with some different mics so it works out a little bit better, because I think it's going to be really important for you guys to see just how interwoven everything is there and how nice it is having the people there all working together, because the engineers are back to back with the custom shop guys and always working hand in hand, and it's just really cool to see it in work, and it goes a long way in showing why their products have the track record that they have. And again, I want you guys to be able to see that for yourself, so I definitely need to make it back up there and do another video.
Yeah, just let me know. Doors open. We're out the red carpet.
Awesome.
Or gold carpet, I guess maybe we should have.
There you go. All right, well, cool. Anything else you want to say?
I think that's it. I think we covered it.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for your time.
Absolutely.
We're going to go get some food and then do some more shooting, but as always, I hope you got something out of this video, and I really appreciate you watching.